Hi, this is Dasha and this is my day 12 of Talking to the Camera challenge. I will have to be honest, I have skipped the last few days because I had a busy weekend, but because I've pre-recorded some of the videos in advance to be able to upload on a daily basis, hopefully the so-called schedule won't suffer. But today I would like to talk about confidence and how I built my own confidence from scratch since I was a teenager to become the person that I am today. And when I say the person that I am today, I realize that it sounds a little bit self-absorbed. Let's face it, this whole channel is self-absorbed. I basically talk about myself and give unsolicited advice to people who never ask for my opinion. But nonetheless, I just mean it in a way that right now, the person who I am today is very different than who I was when I was 14, 15, 16 in this mid-teenage years, when I didn't really have any confidence to build upon. And when you're not sure in your own abilities, when you're not sure in yourself, it can be very difficult to navigate a world that you're just entering as a conscious young adult. It's difficult to get along with people, to learn more about yourself and others. And while we all go through this awkward phase of being a teenager and learning how to transition into this young adulthood stage, which is often a very difficult change for us, the way that we come out on the other end, the person who we become once we end that journey, that transition, is completely up to us. And there are things that we can do to help ourselves become the confident version of ourselves. So to give a little bit of background on this, I was, like many of us, a very, very shy teenager. I was really not confident in myself. I was not confident in my looks. I had a feeling that I was inferior to most of my peers, to most of the people my own age. And besides all of this, it was super important for me to fit in. I felt like I wanted to be a part of this teenagehood experience together with everyone else, to be at the same level. And at the same time, I always felt like maybe I was treated in some wrong way, maybe I was treated as inferior, not exactly as everyone else in my peer group. And it was so important for me to be recognized and to be accepted as part of my societal group. I want to preface this by saying that most of this was in my head, and the way I realized that was through growing and maturing. But at the time, it was really devastating to feel like I'm not enough and to feel like I don't have those qualities that everyone around me has. I'm not as beautiful, as smart, as worthy as everyone around me. It was really difficult to blame myself for not being able to get to the same level as my peers did. In addition to all of that, I did have appearance issues as a kid. I had very low self-esteem because when I looked in the mirror, that was not the person that I wanted to see. I was quite a bit overweight, and a lot of the time when I was looking at my friends who were either skinny or normal weight, I would envy them and think that somehow they're better than me because of this appearance factor. Although now, of course, I realized that those people that I put on a pedestal, those people that I was comparing myself to in my friend group, probably had insecurities of their own. It's impossible to be completely happy with yourself all the time, but during your teenage years, when you're not fully mature yet, it seems like everyone else might have it better than you, and it really brings you down. Another reason for which I felt really behind everyone else is that I was what my mom used to call at the time a late bloomer, which meant that I matured later than everyone else. Mentally, I was slightly more childish than everyone my age. Emotionally, I had slightly less control of my emotions, slightly more in that childhood phase than most people my age. And of course, this gap closed itself as I matured, as I became a young adult, but at the time it really felt like a massive difference between me and my friends who were slightly more adult-like. And it feels like a very big deal when you're that age, that everybody lives in a slightly different world than you, everybody has slightly different interests than you, and you're maturing just those 2, 3, 5 steps behind, trying to catch up with everyone around you. And some of the slightly less nice people around me would recognize this difference between me and themselves, would see that I'm a little bit more naive, that I'm a little bit softer, a little bit less prepared for life, if you will, and they felt like it was okay to take advantage and to abuse me verbally. And because I was a very non-conflictual person, I didn't really know how to stand up for myself. Now, I really should say here that it was a select few people. Majority of the friends around me were actually really nice, and I was able to get along with people, and I formed connections that I carry to this day. But protecting my boundaries and standing up to those people who felt like it was okay to cross them was very difficult for someone like me at the time, who had that softer, childlike spot in them, and I didn't really know how to stand up for myself in conflict and how to protect myself from that influence that I was getting. Add to that at the age of 14 I moved to the UK from Russia, and I really felt out of place for the better part of the remaining 4 years of school that I had, and all of those challenges of wanting to fit in, being a few steps behind, were also crossed over with the fact that I had a massive cultural gap, a language gap, and closing down all those gaps and feeling confident and feeling like I'm part of something and at the same level as everyone else obviously was very difficult, because it was just simply too much for a teenager to handle at the time. My first attempts at building myself up happened in first year of university. I've moved to a different environment. It was a more mature environment. There were young adults there rather than teenagers. Obviously, university comes with extra responsibilities, so I've supposedly taken those on. And besides, I surrounded myself with people who were both confident and wanted to treat me as their equal. And that was slightly new to me, because then that meant that I could absorb that confidence and learn from them rather than just look up to them and think, oh, they have something that I don't. They were willing to put themselves at the same level as me, to treat me exactly as their equal. And that was really inspiring. So my first attempts at building confidence were actually quite conscious. I had to think about it very much to copy the confident behaviors of my friends and people I surrounded myself with in first year of university. I was looking at them and thinking, fake it till you make it. I'm gonna do exactly what they do. I'm gonna copy their behavior. I'm gonna copy how they present themselves to other people, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Even if I'm not confident on the inside, at least I'm gonna try to look confident on the outside. And that was literally the first step that I'd taken. It was important to me that I could exude this confidence, even though I didn't necessarily feel like that on the inside, but I felt like it was a good start, because if I could do this for long enough, then maybe I would train myself and it would come to me naturally to feel this way. And with time, it became much easier to show this confident side of me to other people, but at the same time, I still didn't feel it on the inside. And that's probably because I still didn't feel quite like an adult. I felt very dependent on other people, their opinions, on the support from my family, and that kind of made me feel like that teenager all over again. For example, whenever I had an issue, I would be calling my parents to ask how I should resolve it or what I should do, and that necessity of having to be told what is right and what is wrong, what is the correct course of action, very much made me feel like I was still a child to a degree, and that I still had to rely on someone else other than me. That really brought my confidence down, because I couldn't trust myself and I couldn't count on myself to choose my own path and sort my own issues. That started changing significantly by second year of university, because that was the period of my life where I started taking my own decisions and following through with them, taking some action to change my life for the better and to progress. First of all, I took more responsibility in studying, because I was not happy with my results in first year of university, and I've put a lot more effort to prepare for exams and write my courseworks. That responsibility that I'd taken on really had an effect on how I was feeling internally. I was feeling like I could count on myself, at least on the side of university and studying and preparing for my exams. And secondly, second year of university was pivotal to me, because it was decisive for whether or not I would be able to stay in the UK after graduating. I had to start looking for internships, for graduate programs, to secure some sort of role or to have more opportunities once I graduate and finish my course. So I started passing exams and entrance tests to different companies to see whether I would be able to secure a summer internship, and that was an extra step to taking that responsibility for my own life, to make choices that were just mine, to navigate my own path and know what's best for me without having to run and ask somebody about it. Once I found that internship that later led to a graduate program, I was absolutely over the moon. I was super happy with myself because I knew that I'd achieved this on my own, and this was my first big breakthrough that I'd done just thanks to my own efforts and thanks to my own knowledge rather than help from somebody else. And I was over the moon with it. I was very happy that I was able to get to that point and solely count on myself on my way to it. So graduating with a good result and securing that first job, which also meant that I could stay in the UK for at least 2 years longer on a work visa, meant a huge deal for my confidence and self-worth because I'd done it myself and I was proud of myself for it. The next challenge, however, that I faced was taking care of my health, because previously any illnesses that I had, my parents or my family would help me go through that, help me find the right care for myself. But the first kind of health issues that I faced on my own were already as a young adult, so I was 21 and 22, and learning to look after myself and to take responsibility and step up and be that confident adult for myself in order to look after myself was a big challenge for me. First issues that I faced were my mental health. So that was the first time that I went to therapy at the age of 21, I think. It was 2019, so I should have been 21. And issues with my mental health really impacted how I saw myself, and all the progress, or a lot of the progress that I'd done with my confidence throughout the years actually just went through the floor, and I was back at square one. I was really not seeing myself objectively. I was bringing myself down, and therapy, which I started around that time, really helped with that, really helped me kind of get back on track and start seeing the world around me and myself in a more realistic, a more lenient light. I learned to separate my actions, so things that I was responsible for, from things that were happening to me. And that difference is crucial, because if you don't really separate the two, then things that are happening to you, you can blame yourself for, and that really impacts your confidence and how you see yourself. Whereas if you learn to see that difference and you recognize things that you had absolutely no impact over, then you are able to help yourself get out of these situations while also being kind and understanding of yourself. And then in terms of physical health, by the age of 22, 23, I faced gastritis, which is the inflammation of the lining of the stomach, which meant that to treat that and keep that at bay, I had to really moderate my diet. I had to take responsibility of what I eat, how much I eat, in order to basically help myself get better and help my stomach recover from years of poor diet that I had. And you can probably sense a common theme here. Every time I faced something that forced me to take on more responsibility and be more accountable, that's when my confidence would grow. That's when I would feel more like an adult. That's when I would feel more like I could count on myself. So every time there was this challenge that I had to overcome and I did it on my own without any help, that's when I would feel the most confident in myself, and I knew that I could trust myself should a similar situation come up. I've been managing my gastritis symptoms for a while now, and successfully so. So this was yet another challenge that showed me that I'm capable of looking after myself and helping myself. And since I mentioned therapy, I'll also say that it helped me learn how to build those boundaries. I've mentioned at the beginning of the video that as a teenager, I really wasn't able to stand up for myself or to enter any sort of conflict because I preferred to just endure it or walk away. But in therapy, I actually learned the ways in which I could outline what's okay and what's not okay to say to me, to do next to me, and learning how to build those boundaries and outline them to other people. I was able to only surround myself with those who respected them, because if you outline what's important to you, how you can be treated and can't be treated to someone around you, and they absolutely refuse to accept it, you can do nothing else other than just try to distance yourself from them for the sake of your own mental health and for the sake of your own confidence. And that building of boundaries and recognizing people who don't respect those boundaries helped me become the person that I am today. I surrounded myself with people who respected me, who valued me and wanted to treat me like I wanted to be treated, and I did my best to treat them the same way in return and respect them the same way in return. And and that really shaped me fully as a person that I am now. I consider myself both happy and confident right now. I finally closed down all the gaps that I thought I had between me and people around me, and that's really a feeling that you can't compare anything else to, because you finally feel like you're in your place in this world, if that makes sense. That sounds very dramatic, but it's true. With every situation that would arise, with every challenge that I would face, I would show myself and I would prove to myself that I can count on myself. With time, you build this trust in your abilities. With time, you start trusting yourself, knowing that we are the only person who is always there for us, and that who is always there to help ourselves out is a huge leap towards that level of confidence, because you can just enjoy life and stop worrying about things that haven't arrived yet, things that might be worrisome in the future, thinking, oh my god, how am I gonna solve this? What am I gonna do? You know that whatever it is that's coming, you can sort this, so why think about it? Why worry about it? Whatever people are around you that are not making you feel good, you know that you don't have to be next to them. Your self-worth isn't tied to them anymore. You know how to make yourself feel respected, you know what people to surround yourself with, you know how to take care of yourself, and we all go through this process, and hopefully we emerge with much more confidence than we possibly can have as kids or young teenagers. So that's the story of how I built my own confidence. Maybe I didn't go through moments that other people go through. Maybe my journey wasn't as challenging or as difficult as that of many others. I acknowledge that, I realize that, but everything that we go through that we perceive as a challenge at the time makes us stronger, makes us more confident, makes us more secure in what we are and who we are and how we handle things. Thank you so much for sticking through this somewhat self-absorbed chat with me. It was very important for me to touch upon this topic, to raise this, and I hope that it was a little bit interesting or helpful if you're kind of going through similar stages of life right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.